All right, y'all. So Alex Jones is in court for his defamation trial, and he decided to take the stand. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I got a whole bunch of clips to show you. So let's start with what happened early on. So he skipped the morning session of his trial, and he went and did his show. More on that a little bit later. But during this morning session, one of the fathers who was harassed by the, Sandy Hook conspiracy theorists, he testified. And, he said how difficult it is for him, and now he has anxiety, and he's got all these problems, and he's been harassed relentlessly. And so Alex Jones skipped that to do his show. Okay, well, he shows up for the afternoon session. Here's what happens on his way into the courtroom.
She found me guilty. She lied and said we didn't give them the discovery so she could have a show trial and tell the jurors 8 times I've seen her, this man's guilty. So all of your rights to due process.
Okay, I have to pause to tell you, he already lost the defamation trial. What we're talking about now, it's a civil suit, not a criminal suit, and it's about how much money is he going to have to pay the Sandy Hook family victims. That's what this is about. So he was already found guilty, which is why the judge says you're not allowed to say you're innocent. Because it's a fact. You've been found guilty already. Now, he was found guilty by default, which is something a little different, which means he didn't provide the court with all the documents that he was legally required to provide them with. And that's why he was found guilty. It wasn't necessarily on the specific merits of the case. It was you didn't do what you had to do within the context of this process, and so you're guilty by default. So the reason why she says that is because, dude, it's over. You are guilty. Now the question is just, what's the dollar amount? So he's trying to pretend like the process isn't what it is to say, I've been denied my due process, which is not true. And again, it's a civil trial, not a criminal trial, so it's a little bit different. The standard is not innocent until proven guilty or beyond a reasonable doubt. The standard is now what's called, I think, the preponderance of the evidence. So in other words, if it's a little better than a 50% chance, then you're allowed to award the damages. Anyway, let's continue.
Says a trial by jury is being destroyed here in Austin, Texas. Austin is the second most famous city in America for judicial fraud. D.C. and Austin, where the Democratic Party have fully weaponized the judiciary to persecute people, just like Rick Perry.
I love how he's making it a partisan thing. What the fuck does it have to do with partisan politics, dog? This has absolute. You don't know the political leanings of that judge? You don't know the political leanings of people involved in this? You have no idea. He's making it a partisan thing. Because he has built, more recently, within the past however many years, he's built a more right-wing audience. So now, blaming Democrats and shit? What the fuck are you talking about?
Who they indicted for vetoing a bill. They indicted him. Or Tom DeLay. They've done this over and over again, and she hopes the jury doesn't learn what she's done. She even tried to sign a document saying we couldn't mention the First Amendment or say we're innocent. All I did was...
Because you were already found guilty. You were already found guilty. This is just about the dollar amount that you have to pay. He's like, look, this is Weasley on purpose. It is. This is Weasley on purpose.
Speculate and ask questions. I have a right to do that. It has been the lawyers, the Democratic Party, and the whole Sandy Hook anti-gun crew that has attached themselves to me for years.
Okay, hold on. Alex Jones' main claim about Sandy Hook and why it was a hoax and why it was a conspiracy and why there were crisis actors and all these things. He claimed the reason they're doing this is to lay the groundwork to then confiscate everybody's guns. Obama's going to confiscate everybody's guns. That was the argument he made. So in other words, the motive for them to fake it was to take everybody's guns. Well, Alex, they didn't take everybody's guns. They didn't. They couldn't even get mild gun reform through under Obama. So your entire motive has collapsed. So you were, look, pay attention, listen closely, you were wrong. Why can't he just fucking admit that? Is he incapable of admitting that? And the answer is probably yes. It is. And look, you guys know, anytime I'm wrong, I can't wait to come out here and tell you I was wrong. Because it's not, who gives a fuck if Kyle Kulinski, oh, I'm so poignant and so right about everything. Fuck that. What matters is the objective reality. Like I told you guys about Fetterman's campaign, for example. I wouldn't have told him if I was advising his campaign, hey, run on the carpetbagger narrative and say that Dr. Oz is from out of state and hit him over that repeatedly. I wouldn't have advised that because I don't think that's too powerful an attack. Turns out I was wrong because he's been doing it nonstop and every single poll is saying, goddamn, Fetterman is destroying Dr. Oz. Just say you're wrong. No, he can't help himself. Cannot help himself.
They've talked more in this trial about Sandy. She found me guilty.
All right, so now let's move on a little bit here. So, Alex Jones is in the courtroom here. Now, one of the mothers of, one of the kids who died is on the stand. And they're going to, the plaintiff's attorneys are going to bust up Alex here. She's going to say something, and then they're going to bust up Alex, because what they're going to do is, apparently they had somebody watching Alex Jones' show when he was supposed to be in court. And they're going to play a video of stuff he said from the same day, at the same time, one of the victim's fathers was testifying. Oh God, this is wild. I hope y'all are buckled up for this one.
It affects me because that is the father of my son. That is, we're bonded forever through that connection, through Jesse's spirit. And that impacts me. If you have the capacity to put yourself in my shoes, do you have empathy? Because the two people that work for you don't seem to have empathy or care. They really don't. I was looking for some caring. I did not see it. Do you?
Ms. Lewis, does it continue to cause you emotional distress when you hear this man peddle the thought that you are in some way or another an actor or controlled by other people or like thoughts?
Or that Sandy Hook was a total hoax, that it was a false flag, that it never happened, that there were no children killed. And you know that's not true. You know that's not true. But when you say those things, there's a fringe of society that believe you, that are actually dangerous.
The video that you saw over...
By the way, she got a lot of death threats and stuff. This is stuff that's come up in evidence through, the process of this trial.
Break from Mr. Jones' website, radio show, InfoWars. Did that cause you or affect you emotionally further?
Absolutely.
If we could, please. What exhibit will this be, Melissa? PBX 32? Please play PBX. We offer PBX 32 to evidence, Your Honor.
Objection.
The objections are overruled. I, however, think that you need to establish a little bit more about this video, when it was aired, etc.
Sure.
You haven't done that yet.
While you were on break, did part of your team download this video?
Yes.
And are you aware that the video was created during or shortly after Mr. Hesselin's testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And did that video come from the InfoWars website?
Yes.
And did you personally see that the video came from the InfoWars website?
Yes.
PBX 32 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please play that, Melissa.
I thought it was an act when I saw some of the stuff on TV, just because he came off his show. Let's just say he's a nice man, and it's not an act. He is being manipulated by some very bad people. But I'll just say, because I gotta be honest, he's slow, okay? And his ex-wife is not. I don't think he's stupid. I'm just saying I've got family members that are really smart in a lot of ways, but they're just real kind of quiet and have this way about them, and they move at a different pace. Like they're fast in some ways and slow in others, and I think Hesselin acts like somebody on the spectrum. And it makes me feel like an even bigger jerk. But when I saw him, there's something about this guy. This doesn't look, and now that I've been around him for over a week, I'm like, okay, now I know. And folks, I don't have some calculated point just bringing that up here. It's just that I'm around these people, and I'm looking at it, and I'm watching what's being said and what's going on, and it really then makes it clear what happened.
So he's doing his show as opposed to being at the trial to listen to a victim's dad testify about how, his words and the harassment he suffered affected him deeply. And Alex is on the air talking about how he's definitely on the spectrum. He's definitely slow, this dude. Something's off. Oh, Alex. What are you doing? Are you trying to lose? Are you trying to have to pay out $150 million, which is what they're asking for, by the way? He can't help himself. When he's in a hole, he digs it deeper. And then when he digs it deeper, he digs it even deeper. Homeboy's digging all the way to China. Like, why would you say that? Okay, by the way, I watched that guy testify. My reading on him was he's a stoic guy who is clearly going through a lot of pain. There was a lot of like, a lot of moments and like tearing up and choking over words that seemed very sincere. He's like a stoic guy who's an introvert. And, Alex takes that as he's skipping this guy testifying, and he's like attacking him on the air. Come on, man. Come on. And by the way, when Alex takes the stand, he goes off and says like, it's an edited video, it's a doctored video, because before I was saying, I believe them, and then at the end I said I'm sorry, so they doctored the video. Even if you see the whole context, you're still a jackass for doing that. You should have been in court listening to him testify. You're snubbing your nose at the entire process. Anyway, and he's open about the fact he's snubbing his nose at the entire process. Next. So this is from when Alex Jones takes the stand. This is out of this world.
By the top lab recognized in the United States. All we do is put our label on it, so we know it's triple tested, the highest quality, and that's why people love it, because it is the best out there. And I'll give it to Whole Foods, and I'll give it to GNC and others. They've got the same stuff. There's all sorts of crap you can buy at a gas station out there. That's not what ours is. I mean, we buy our PQ.
Oh, we still got more. Hold on.
PQ and CoQ10 from the Japanese. I mean, it's the best. It costs 5 times what synthetic PQQ and CoQ10 cost. Made by...
Oh, man. So, okay, let me give you a little bit of context to this. So, when he's on this, one of the things that a defense attorney likes to do when they have somebody on the stand is you try to humanize that person by giving their backstory, talking about their life, how they got to where they are, etc., what their motivations and intentions are. And so they did that with Alex. They went all the way back. Hey, how'd you get into radio? All this stuff. And so at some point they were asking about the business practices of InfoWars and how they make their money and all this stuff. And this was the portion on the supplements. And Alex can't help but like turn into the cheap televangelist salesman here. Dude, not the time and place, dog. Not the time and place. By the way, there have been we covered it on the show. I don't remember all the specifics, but you guys can look it up if you want on Google. I don't remember all the details, but there has been, investigations or testing of his products, and of course, they're not what he's describing here. But just so everybody understands, the entire supplement industry is unregulated, which makes it a total crapshoot. It's not like I have many problems with pharmaceutical companies, but the fact of the matter is pharmaceuticals are regulated out the wazoo so that when you're having antibiotics, that shit is antibiotics. So they have FDA regulation. There's no FDA regulation of supplements. So they can be selling something that is not even the stuff that's on the label, which happens oftentimes, or they could be selling something that is the stuff that it says it is on the label, but there's no evidence that stuff even works in the first place for whatever you're taking it for. So... More.
That's the exception to the food and the corporate.
There you go. You're nice to me. All right, go ahead.
Alex, you obviously have a very...
Okay, this wasn't the best video. I can attest to it though, because I watched the entire testimony. Throughout the whole thing, he keeps coughing over and over and over and over, and he keeps talking. He says, "Don't worry, it's not COVID. I have a torn larynx." Is that true? I have no idea. It's Alex Jones. You can't just take him at his word. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But let's just say the way he's portraying himself to the jury is not really all that impactful in a positive direction. And it got to the point where he was coughing so much that the judge gave him a cough drop. And they kept, he like ran out of water and they were like, "Do you need more water?" And he kept doing it over and over. Again, this isn't the best video that illustrates it, but I watched the entire thing and it's true. Anyway, next.
I mean, really, I listened to Larry King a lot because my dad on the radio a lot when I was, from the time I was like 6, 7, I remember listening to Larry King. And then I'd watch him a lot of nights. at home in junior high and high school. So I would say more than anybody, Larry King. I mean, really,
So this is him, you know, asked, oh, who influenced you? What made you want to get into this business that you're in? And that's his answer. Alex Jones was just taken in by the incredible charisma of Larry King. And, you know, that's who he modeled himself after. Now, to be fair, he does go on to say Howard Stern as well. Like, a mix of Larry King and Howard Stern or whatever. You're nowhere in the ballpark of either one of those dudes. Not even close. So, look, the obvious point to make here is, that's not true. That's not true, Alex. But now that he's caught, right? And he was caught. He was already found guilty of the defamation. Now that he's caught, his way out is to try to be like, no, you guys don't understand. Like, I was inspired by the mainstream stuff, and maybe in a sense, I am kind of mainstream. I'm not some crazy person out there. I mean, Larry King is my idol. So all this bashing of the establishment and mainstream media and all these people are liars and they're frauds and this and that. The second it's convenient, he's like, my favorite is mainstream media. Oh my God, Alex. Come on, man. Come on. Come on, dude. More.
well, InfoWars is a radio show on TV. I mean, that's really what Oprah Winfrey is too. It's just, but I mean, that's, it all goes back to radio when that started 100 years ago, or a little bit more now. And so that's a separate thing. A talk show with opinions and people debating is like The View. They're not fact checking, they're just giving their opinions. When I'm on the radio show, most of the time I'm just a pundit giving my opinion. Everybody on talk radio knows that. We play devil's advocates, we look at both sides. Well, InfoWars.
So this he goes back and forth nonstop. Alex does. He goes back and forth nonstop. So he'll go from, oh, we're journalists. And by the way, Owen Schroyer, who testified, that's, you know, his like mini-me protege. Owen Schroyer testified and said that, yeah, I'm a journalist. And then when pressed a little bit, he was like, well, some of the times I'm a journalist and other times I'm a commentator, I'm a pundit. And, you know, Alex, when he's talking to his own audience, acts like you're getting the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth here, and you have my word on that. You know, like, you know, we're the only ones telling the truth. InfoWars, you know, we're the truth tellers. But then now, when it's convenient, he switches it to like, oh no, look, we're a talk show. We're just like Oprah. We're just like The View. People are giving their opinion. He even mentioned like fact checking. We don't do that when we're live, dog. And he doesn't have a consistent story. He doesn't have one point he makes that explains the reality of the situation. Whatever's convenient, he will flip from one to the other. I mean, there was a point where, you know, he claimed like basically I'm an actor at one point in the past. I'm like playing a character. And now we got this narrative. So, you know, I'm like Larry King in mainstream media. I'm like a journalist, but I'm also like Oprah in The View, and I'm just like a talk show person. And I'm also just like a total actor. He's been on the entire spectrum of hosting. But it gets even better, man. It gets even better. Okay, here we go. So after Alex Jones takes the stand and the jury is dismissed, so they go through the whole process. The defense attorney questions Alex. Everything's over. Alex goes back to his seat, and then we get this moment here.
Mr. Jones, you may not say to this jury that you complied with discovery. That is not true.
I don't know if you heard what she said there, but I'm going to repeat it for you. You may not tell this jury that you complied with discovery. So, in other words, in the previous trial, the defamation trial, again, this is just for how much he's going to end up paying. But in the previous trial, which he was already found guilty for, the reason why he was found guilty by default is because he did not comply with discovery, which means he didn't hand over all the documents that he needed to hand over to the court. Okay? But now he goes around saying all the time, like, I complied completely. And the judge is like, you're literally not allowed to say that because that is factually untrue. She continues.
You may not say it again. You may not tell this jury that you are bankrupt. That is also not true. You may have filed for bankruptcy. I don't know that, but I've heard that. That doesn't make a person or a company bankrupt. You're already under oath to tell the truth. You've already violated that oath twice today in just those two examples. It seems absurd to instruct you again that you must tell the truth while you testify. Yet here I am. You must tell the truth while you testify. This is not your show. You need to slow down and not take what you see as opportunities to further the message you're wanting to further. And instead, only answer the specific and exact question you have been asked. No asides. The comments about discovery, the comments about the larynx or whatever it was, the comments about bankruptcy, none of those were responsive to questions. They were just you abusing my tolerance and making asides to the jury improperly, and in at least two cases, untruthfully. Do you understand what I have said? Yes or no? Do you understand what I have said?
Yes, I believe what I said was true. So I don't.
Yes, you believe everything you say is true, but it isn't. Your beliefs do not make something true. That is what we're doing here. Just because you claim to think something is true does not make it true. It does not protect you. It is not allowed. You are under oath. That means things must actually be true when you say them. Don't talk. You understand what I have said.
I do understand.
You understand the instructions I have given you for your testimony in court.
Yes.
Wow. So those are just like two examples of the stuff that he says that's not true. Like, oh, I complied with discovery. And oh, you know, I'm bankrupt or our finances are in shambles or whatever. And she has to remind, bro, you're under oath. So if you lie, that's perjury. That's another crime. For the love of God, stop. And what happened after this video, by the way, is also interesting because the plaintiff's attorneys chime in and they demand that when it comes time for the jury to deliberate, that they're given instructions to disregard those specific things that he said. Disregard that InfoWars is bankrupt because they're not bankrupt. Disregard, oh, I complied with discovery because he did not comply with discovery. And so, and the judge's reaction to that is basically, all right, plaintiff's attorneys, you draft, a document explaining the specific things you want to be given as instructions to the jury and cite, whatever the legal codes are that you're filing this under. And then I'll review it and I'll let you know when it comes time for the jury to deliberate if we're going to do that and what we're going to give them as instructions. She does say at one point, we're going to have to give them some sort of instructions. So now, guys, we are just getting started. Because again, this was supposed to be the easy day of Alex Jones on the stand. Why? Because again, it's his attorney who's questioning him, so they're trying to humanize him. And I'm very curious. I mean, Alex Jones on the stand, I sincerely believe, is the plaintiff's attorney's wet dream. Because the number of contradictions you can catch him in, it's endless, which just definitively proves over and over and over, he's a liar. He's a liar. So I'm, when that drops, I'll be watching like a hawk. But again, we're just getting started here. One more to show you here. Alex Jones says the judge and plaintiff's lawyers in the Sandy Hook trial, quote, all act demonically possessed and are committed to occult ideology of the New World Order. Bro, again, this is when he was supposed to be in court listening to the victim's parents testify. He was on his show at the exact same time saying the judge and the plaintiff's attorneys are demonically possessed and committed to the occult ideology of the New World Order. I don't know if it's humanly possible for him to stick his foot in his mouth any more than he already has. I mean, look, again, they're asking for $150 million in this case. My guess is the most likely scenario is they're going to get about that. The minimum I could see them getting is like 50, because Alex is doing himself no favors. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.